All right, so just had lunch. Today's Sunday, so I just had lunch, and so I'm trying to. Noel did a video talking about we're going to be trying to do, um, you know, smoothies, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do it. I'm like, I'll just go on ahead and do, the breakfast, lunch, and dinner smoothies. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that because I drank the smoothie, and literally 15, 20 minutes later, I was hungry. I was like, man, this ain't gonna work. But we'll see. She's gonna get some protein powder and put it in there and all that. We'll see what happens, but I don't know, man. Like, it's gonna be rough. Hold on a second. All right, that's better. I had to get the shine off my head. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. So I have to go in there and eat some actual food for lunch. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think I'll do fine. But anyway, that's not what this video is actually about. This is actually an Ask HershNoeie. It's been a while since I did an Ask HershNoeie. And this person did not want to be mentioned, obviously, because they said that they're afraid that people in their family might watch me, right? So they don't want to be, out there. But he said that hey Herschel, my mom is very religious and always has been very religious. However, I am not. Oftentimes, I'm in an awkward situation whenever I tell her a problem or I talk about issues with my family and they talk about God and religion and relying on God and things like that. Now, I don't have an issue with anyone who is religious. It's just not something that I necessarily believe in. I wouldn't call myself an atheist, but I'm not also overtly religious. Should I tell my mom? And they just stop there, but I mean they go on. Excuse me. Should I tell my mom this, or what should I do? I guess his main issue is that he's tired of hearing it. I don't know. So here's my thing, right? Someone asked me, this was literally maybe a month or so ago, if Noel and I were religious, and I said we were. I think they asked if we were Christians, and I said, yeah, we are. You don't see it here, but in the man cave, I have a cross hanging up. We actually have crosses throughout the house. And we have different religious sayings throughout the house. There's a plate that's actually got stuff engraved into it and things like that. We don't have pictures of Jesus or anything hanging up, but we do have religious things that are up. But, and this is typically a topic that I don't talk about much, right? I try to steer clear of religion and politics for a reason, right? Mainly out of respect for other people. I feel that people are going to have different views when it comes to politics, and politics can get downright dirty. And then when it comes to religion, different people have different views, and I think that that's totally okay. Now, some people will disagree with that, but I that's their belief. Who am I to tell someone that what they believe is wrong? You know what I mean? Um, there may be things in life that I disagree with, but that's just, that's me. I disagree with something. There are going to be people that disagree with me. We know that whole story, right? When it comes to my mom, who's no longer with us, she was very religious. Very. I mean, growing up in the South, it's kind of like a prereq. Like, if you are in the South, it's not just, black people, but white people, everybody. My hometown, there's churches almost on every single corner. If you go downtown in Bowling Green, Kentucky, you see a lot of churches downtown. You know what I mean? Like, you still see a lot of them. I can go in downtown Tacoma and I don't really see that. You know what I mean? I mean, Tacoma's much more of a city, obviously. Bowling Green has always been like a little town that's growing to be a city, but you see a lot of that. A lot of it. And it used to be that if someone said that they were not religious or atheist or whatever, people would be like, what? Like, it would be like this big shock. Like, really? You know what I mean? Like, that was a huge shock. And my mom, when I was, before I was born, was in church all the time, right? As I came along, less and less that she was in church. My parents got divorced. It was less and less, right? A lot of her time was spent working, trying to take care of us and different things like that. So she was just tired. But she was still very religious. I mean, she would still pray all the time, every single day, at night, just constantly. I mean, there you wouldn't hear much of a conversation without God in it somewhere, right? My sister was married to a pastor, and he passed away. And she's very religious. Me, on the other hand, I'm not super religious. You know what I mean? Like, I have faith, but I don't go to church. None of that type of thing, right? Not that I'm against it. I have in the past. And even as an adult, prior to Noelle, and even the early part of Noelle and I's marriage, we used to go. You know, Noelle's a Catholic, or was. And so now we just really and truly don't go to church, and really we don't discuss religion much, right? There was a time when Zoe was on this big kick about God and church and things like that. Not a big kick, but she was really curious, I should say. And you know, the question was, why don't we go to church? And Noelle's like, we just don't, right? And so we explained to her, you can decide. Now, some people may disagree, but this is what works for us. You can decide later on if you want to go to church or whatnot. It's just not something that we have done. We haven't found a church here. We just don't go. Personally, it doesn't impact my view and belief in God, going to church or not. Now, some people may disagree, and that's totally fine. I think for you, if you discuss it with your mother, I think the best way to do it would be to say, you know, I'm not as religious as you are, because that's the truth. I mean, it's not like you said you're not atheist. It's just that your beliefs are not where your mother's are, where you have to be at church constantly, not constantly, I should say, but often, and when you're supposed to, and things like that. I would just definitely put it out there, because now it could be a situation where, and I don't know your family dynamics. Some family dynamics are like, okay, if someone says this, we need to make sure that we speak to them, because there could be a lot of issues going on. We need to get you closer to the church, that type of thing. So you have to know your family dynamics. Nothing wrong with that. Families that do that, nothing wrong with that. But if you're wanting the opposite, of where you don't necessarily want to hear a lot about religion, then, or it makes you uncomfortable, then you have to think of a different strategy. Now, I'm of the belief, and I tell our kids this, that there are things that you're going to hear that you don't like. Like, I tell the kids, you know, clean up your room. Otherwise, if you don't clean up your room, then I'm going to take the tablet away, because they have tablets. You know, make sure that you do your homework or go to bed on time, because if you don't, I'm going to double your homework, because since they actually have to be here to learn, I'm going to make you do your homework. School's out now, but still, I'm like, go in there and read. Go do some writing. Now, I don't want them to equate education as punishment, but I want them to be able to use their time wisely, right? And I typically have a decent conversation with them about, you know, their behavior or whatever the case may be, and why it's not acceptable, and why they're getting the punishment that they're getting, or why they're being told to read, is because I want you to be productive, and I want you to understand that, to me, education is extremely important, etc., etc., etc. And so I said, there's going to be things that I may say that you don't like. You know what I mean? But you still need to be respectful to your parents. I'm a firm believer in that. Now, some people may disagree. Some people may have not had good experiences with their parents. Maybe their parents were bad parents. I'm not talking about that. That's a completely different thing. I'm talking about if you had great parents and that sort of thing, right? There may be things that I say that you may not like. You may not like the fact that I'm punishing you and saying, look, you got to now clean up your whole room, because they hate that. The room is bad, but they hate it, trying to clean up that room. But, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Be respectful. Don't stick your tongue out. Don't, talk back, that type of thing. Respect your parents. So, and I tell them, like, if you don't like it, then don't do it. You know what I mean? If you can't handle the time, don't do the crime. You know what I mean? So I would say in this circumstance, it could be where you just have to swallow that bitter pill and deal with it. Um, you know, one thing that I would not do is to tell my mother, that to stop something, unless it's hurting her health or something like that, or it's against the law or something, which she would never do. But I would never tell someone who's older than me to stop something like that, especially something that they have had a long history of and that they're a part of and all of that. I would never do that. More than likely, it's going to be on you to kind of just block all that out of your ear. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of the situation of sometimes you have to be uncomfortable. You see what I'm saying? You have to be uncomfortable. This is your mother, the only one you're going to have. So, and to be honest with you, there's things my mama said back in the day that I did not like whatsoever. She never knew I didn't like it. There are plenty of things that she said that annoyed me to no end, but she never knew it. Maybe she did, but I never told her that it did. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm of that belief that there are going to be things that are said that you're not going to like. Just kind of deal with it. You get what I'm saying? When your mother passes, you're going to wish you had all of those instances of what she's saying and what she's talking about just one time. If you could just hear it once, you'd be happy. You see what I'm saying? So while it may be a little bit uncomfortable or unpleasant to you, I would say deal with it. If you're afraid to have a conversation because you think it might go the wrong way, then I would just deal with it and just say, you know what, you have a really strong faith in God. I wish I did. Or, your beliefs are really, really deep. Mine are not as deep as yours, but I understand. You may want to say it like that because, again, at least it shows like you still have a love of God, you still believe in God, but you're not as deep into it as she is. But there are going to be things you're just going to be uncomfortable with. There are some, especially, and I mentioned the South for a reason. I know people who were raised in a very Christian home, but they grew up and didn't believe. And so the family dynamics are really rough, and there's a lot of friction. The good thing is you're not in that same situation where you don't believe. It's just that you're not all about it all the time. And so it's a matter of, being a good son. See what I'm saying? Anyhow, I know that's going to not be the answer you're probably looking for. This is a tough one. But to me, a mother is a queen. If they're a good mother. I'm not saying any mother. I'm saying a good mother is a queen. You can't really... that's like a shield for me. For me personally, I look at my own mother when I'm speaking about things because to me, there's not much that I'm going to push back on when it comes to my mom. You know what I mean? I just can't. So, and I raise the girls that way too. Now, if there's something that I disagree with, I may say, yeah, I disagree. I see it differently. But I wouldn't really go into a huge amount of discussion. I would respect it and just say to myself, well, she thinks that way, whatever. I don't argue. I never did really argue with my mom. There were times when we went back and forth, but when I got older, I never argued, never cursed in front of her, ever. Ever. I mean, when I was a kid, I did it because I thought it was funny, and she spanked me. And she laughed too. I said it once or twice. But as far as an adult, I never, ever cursed in front of her. Ever. I had way too much respect for my mother. I never even cursed in front of her. And she even said that, like, he never has. Now, my sisters cuss like a sailor. But she will tell you that if she was alive, that I never ever did. And it was because, to me, my mother is a queen. So it's like, I could not go against her. Even if I disagree with something, I couldn't really go against it in terms of what she's saying. I just kind of roll my eyes when she's not looking, or just kind of like tune it out. And I think that's what you kind of have to do too. So anyhow, hope I helped you with this situation. Best of luck. Love your mother. She's not going to be around forever. Give her as much hugs and kisses as you can. Make sure you join our Discord. A lot of great conversations going on. A lot of cool recipes people post, and food and stuff. It's amazing too. But anyhow, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.